Well, welcome to northern Minnesota. This is John Munter and a muggy and pretty warm day here for September. We're talking about the Gospel of Thomas. I'm using the Nag Hammadi Library by James Robinson. And just to recap from the first sayings, we talked about the breast of the Holy Spirit, which is really the sense of divine love that we perceive and live. And this eventuates into the sense of the higher self in number 8, the big fish, which grows exponentially in 9 and blazes in 10, and arrives at the freedom of the sense of the higher self in number 11. And then Jesus talks about bringing it down to earth. The disciples ask about bringing it down to earth, and Jesus talks about James, and the disciples ask, well, should we follow James, his miracle working and his good works and his preaching and that type of thing? And Jesus says, well, look, let me tell you a story here. It's really about the inner experience. It's about the ecstasy of the higher self, not so much what you do, but the ecstasy of the sense of the higher self you get can be a very heretical thing to establish religion. So the disciples then ask, well, okay, what do you want us to actually do then? I mean, how do you bring this down to earth here for us? And even though we sense the light, we get it, but and Jesus says in number 14, if you fast, you will give rise to sin for yourselves. If you pray, you will be condemned. If you give alms, you will do harm to your spirits. When you go into any land and walk about the districts, if they receive you, eat what they will set before you, and heal the sick among them. For what goes into your mouth will not defile you, but that which issues from your mouth is that which will defile you. So don't go by the outer form of things. Just like when you're dancing, it's an instantaneous thing of you, your partner, and the music. You can't always program your steps, when you're going with the spirit in a dance. And so Jesus talks about healing the sick among them. Well, he's not giving any directions here. Like, what do you mean by that? I mean, the normal natural question is, do we do it in your name, or what's the technique here, And so then we go on to number 15. Jesus said, when you see one who is not born of woman, prostrate yourselves on your faces and worship him. That one is your Father. All right, so Jesus is bringing him down to earth here and saying, look, we're all human beings here. We all visit the same outhouse. So this is my outhouse here that my grandfather built when he was 75 years old. I think it's really beautiful, and on the inside too, my mother made a shelf for hand washing, and we all put on our pants the same way if we're men, or skirts if we're women, and so worship the Father. Now, Pastorby Dave, in his commentary on the Gospel of Thomas, came out with an extraordinary statement saying that the Father was actually your higher self. He identified them. And you can see that from perspective of if we're all a dewdrop of consciousness of the Father, a drop in the ocean, a divine ocean, then that could make sense to us there. But this is a strong statement that I think is passed over by many people here. But the natural question is, okay, so worshiping the Father, tell me more about this. How do we conceptualize that and bring it down to earth? And Jesus responds, men think perhaps that it is peace that I have come to cast upon the earth. They do not know that it is dissension which I have come to cast upon the earth, fire, sword, and war. For there will be 5 in a house, 3 will be against 2, 2 against 3, the Father against the Son against the Father, and they will stand solitary. Okay, so this is a saying that almost no commentators ever get correctly. They have no idea what it really means. If you look at 3 in a house, what could that refer to metaphorically? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in the house of the Roman Church? Sure. 2 in a house, what could that refer to? The Father and the Holy Spirit, or wisdom, Sophia, in the house of the Samaritans or in the house of the Jews? Sure. So it makes sense that it would be conflict, religious conflict between the Jews and the Christians here. And it eventuates in the saying that, and they will stand solitary. In other words, one will pray over here and one will pray over here, which is kind of against the philosophy of Thomas, in terms of the unitary philosophy of Thomas. So this is basically saying that God is not in favor of this division. That's what this is saying. They will be alone. You will pray alone, basically. Okay, and so now the disciples are even more confused, perhaps, and they're going, okay, well, now what do we do? How do we bring this down to earth here? And Jesus is still saying in number 17, I shall give you what no eye has seen, and what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, and what has never occurred to the human mind. So this is consistent with all his previous statements, saying that we're talking about the higher self here. It's not a physical thing, and it's like a TV channel. You don't keep turning the channels, finding a better channel. It's the unseen seer that we're talking about here, being aware of the awareness. And so the normal question from this would be, okay, but where do we begin? What's the how do we make this real to us here in our everyday life? And we'll have to come to that next time. But thanks for tuning in, and see my website, www.mirroredbridalchamber.com, or my book, The Integral Gospel of Thomas Made Easy, on Amazon. Thank you.